Hi, I'm Larry Richardson, your step-by-step chef, and I absolutely love Louisiana. I love the music, I love the dancing, I love the people, I love the scenery, and I really love the food. And in this episode, we're going to make one of my favorite sandwiches. It is a Cajun spiced fried chicken sandwich. And it's a lot easier than you're going to think when you see the ingredients. It's actually quite easy to put together, especially if we do it the step-by-step chef way. So come on, let's cook. And here are the ingredients for our spicy Cajun fried chicken sandwich. And it looks a little bit complicated, but you gotta stick with me on this. When we do it the step-by-step way, we can do anything. So the first thing we have is 1.5 pounds of boneless, skinless chicken breasts. And these are completely defrosted. Do not use frozen chicken in any of your recipes. Not even if someone tells you to make frozen chicken popsicles, just don't do it. You want to make sure this chicken is defrosted so it will cook all the way through. We're going to use 3/4 cup of coarse cornmeal. You can use a more finely milled cornmeal if you want, but I like the coarse cornmeal. It has a little bit of an extra crunch to it. We're going to use a 1/4 cup of all-purpose flour, a 1/4 teaspoon of onion powder, 1/4 teaspoon of garlic powder, a 1/4 teaspoon of black pepper, 1 teaspoon of salt, a 1/2 teaspoon of chili powder, and a 1/4 teaspoon of cayenne pepper powder. And you can adjust those according to your taste. Make it my way the first time through, and then just do what you want to do with it. You might like it a heck of a lot more spicy than I do. We're also going to use 2 cups of milk, which we're going to dip the chicken in before we dip it into this meal mix. We're going to use 3 cups of oil. I have these buns, and these buns are they're brioche buns. They're a little bit more hearty than a hamburger bun, but not quite as hearty as maybe a Kaiser roll, which would be pretty chewy for this kind of sandwich. So if you can get something just a little bit more substantial than a hamburger bun, do it. If you can't, that's fine too. The hamburger buns are fine. I'm also using 1 teaspoon of butter, which we'll use to brown the hamburger buns. Again, you might need a little bit more butter for each bun. That's totally up to you. And then in terms of toppings, this is really a matter of taste. I like to add a little bit of mayo, a little bit of hamburger dill chip, some sliced tomato, and some sliced lettuce to mine. But you might not want any of those, all of them, part of them, half of them. It's totally up to you. Do it to taste. The main thing is, when we're done with this, you should have absolutely a delicious chicken sandwich. So let me show you how to put all this together. And the first thing I want to do is put together our breading mix. So here's our cornmeal, 3/4 cup of coarse cornmeal. Here's our 1/4 cup of all-purpose flour. And here's our onion powder, garlic powder, black pepper, salt, chili powder, cayenne pepper powder. Again, acquired taste. If you don't like things too hot, leave it out or add less than I do. It's totally up to you. I like a little heat in mine. And then all we do is take a fork and mix it up nice and uniform. And as I always tell you in this series, make it to your taste. If you like it a little bit more spicy, add some more spices. If you like it salty, you can do that. Or absolutely with the salt, I prefer to do that at the table. But it's totally up to you how you want to handle that. I add just enough to give it a little bit of a salty taste, but not enough to overpower the fried chicken cutlet. Has a little slight hint of redness to it, but I want it nice and mixed uniform. You don't want like these big pools of yellow cornmeal just sitting aside, because that's just a fried chicken cutlet. And I do have a recipe for that too. But there we go. And sometimes what I'll do with these mixes, because the ingredients can vary, is I'll cook one of these sandwich cutlets, taste it, and then decide if I need to add a little bit more of any of the ingredients to this breading mix. And there we go. That's nice and uniform. And now here comes the chicken. And what we're going to do with this is trim off any weird pieces that might be kind of chewy, and any pieces that might have bone in it, get rid of those too. Nobody wants to bite into a chicken bone when they're eating a sandwich, so just look for those kind of odd pieces and get those out of there. And then what we do is we just press our hand down on the top of the chicken breast and we cut it lengthwise. Keep your fingers clear of this, be real careful. And if you don't like doing this, you can actually buy in many stores pre-cut chicken cutlets or even chicken tenders to do this. But that's basically butterflying the chicken. And I just cut the fly part. And we just set that aside. And we do the same thing with this second one. It's all trimmed. Flatten your fingers and just cut it lengthwise. Go slow too. Don't cut yourself. Go real slow. We're not in a hurry. We're on Louisiana Cajun time. Just relax and enjoying the day. So both of those are butterflied. Now, if the cut is really, really thin, this could be ready to fry. But if you want it even thinner than this, let me just set these other chickens in my bowl. If you want it even thinner than this, what you do is you put it inside a Ziploc bag, or you wrap it in a saran wrap, a plastic wrap. Make sure it's pretty sealed up, because you don't want to splatter chicken all over your house. You're probably going to get in trouble if your partner comes home and finds chicken stuck to the wall. Also, warn people you're doing this, that you're going to mallet the chicken. We're going to flatten it down. I'm using the smooth side of this mallet. If you don't have one of these, you can use the bottom of a flat wine bottle or any of the jars you might have in your house that are pretty sturdy. You don't want the jar to break while you're doing this. But then you just do this. Flatten it out. It flattens it out and it tenderizes it. Okay, and then what we do is we just take each of the chicken pieces out and consider how big of a chicken piece do you want for each sandwich. So like in this case, I'm going to cut it about in half. And then if people want more chicken on it, then they can certainly add 2 pieces. They can make a double chicken sandwich. But I'm just going to repeat this for each of the pieces. And if you like it flatter than this, you can. This again tenderizes the meat, and it helps to make sure that in the frying process that the meat cooks all the way through. After I finish these other pieces, I'm going to meet you over at the stove. Okay, so here is our basic kitchen setup. I have about 1/2 inch of oil in this pan. It preheated over medium heat. I have our chicken, our milk bath, and our cornmeal mix. And I also have at the ready paper towels on a plate that I can use to drain the oil off of the chicken cutlets as they're finished. So what we want to do is just take a little bit of this cornmeal mix. You can see it's sizzling. That means it's ready to fry, to use to fry the chicken. If it starts to smoke too much or gets way too splattery, just adjust the heat down. You may have to adjust it down and up. I have a particularly finicky stove, so I do have to do that. It's like driving a stick shift to get it just right, but I'm willing to do it to be your step-by-step chef. The kind of guy I am. Anyway, so you take your chicken, dip it in the milk, and then coat it in our cornmeal mix. And then carefully hold it from the top, roll it into the oil. Keep your fingers clear of that oil. Do not touch that oil under any circumstances. And you can see this is frying quite nicely already. And it's going to take about 3 to 5 minutes for each side. And I'll give it a gentle roll when it's ready. Nice roll in there. And that'll cook the chicken all the way through. So as you can see, it doesn't take a lot of oil to do this. We're not doing like a deep fryer like you'd see in a in a real chicken shop or a fried fish place, but we're using just enough to make sure that all of the chicken gets fried all the way through. And what I'm looking for as it cooks is these browned edges. That tells me that it is frying quite nicely. So I'm going to roll this piece. Nice and golden brown. And just be careful when you're dealing with the oil. Don't splatter any of it on yourself. And I'll probably do about 2 to 3 minutes to this side too. And that should be cooked through quite nicely. And then I'm going to repeat this process for each of the chicken pieces. Now, just to warn you, again, lower that heat if it gets a little bit too lively, but don't bring it down so much that it looks like it's just sitting there. You always want a little bit of a sizzle going on. And again, if it smokes, turn it down. Do not, under any circumstances, leave it unattended. I have a sneaking suspicion that oil left unattended on a stove is one of the leading causes of kitchen fires. And you might even want to have some kind of, appropriate fire extinguisher handy. One that is rated to handle oil, just in case. I don't mean to intimidate you or scare you, but it's always good to be safe when you're dealing with hot oil. Just be real careful with it. Don't leave it unattended. Don't let kids or animals near it. And really just enjoy your cooking experience, knowing that everything's being done safely. And the cooking time depends on the thickness of the chicken breast. Hopefully you pounded it down pretty thin so it doesn't really require that much time. Certainly the heat of the oil, the depth of the oil. The main thing is you don't want to see any pink in the middle of this chicken when you slice it in half. And take a piece, do a little test piece, cut it in half, and make sure that it's cooked all the way through. It should be, because this oil is pretty darn hot. And especially if you're seeing the outer crust start to turn that golden brown color, that means things are cooking along quite nicely. Look at that rich brown color. I'm going to turn this down a little bit. Again, it's getting a little bit too lively for me. And I'm certain these pieces are ready to come out. Put it right on here. Let them drain out. And I'm going to taste a piece and decide if I want to add any more spices to the meal mix. And also, I want to cut it in half and make sure everything's cooking all the way through. Which again, with that kind of golden brown color, I'm definite it is. So I'm going to move on and just keep on cooking these, and then I'll be back when it's done. Okay, so our chicken is nice and fried to a golden finish. So that's going to taste great on the sandwich. I have this pan preheated over medium so we can toast our bun. I think I can say that on TV. You let me know if I can't. I'm sure you'll write letters to the station. But we're just spreading out the butter. And putting our buns face down in it, so to speak. Get that butter nice and coated on the face of these. And while this is going on, the pan that had the oil in it is cooling off on the sidelines. And once that oil is cool, I'll pour it into a jar that I have ready, put the cap on the jar and throw it away. Do not pour that oil down into your plumbing system, or you might not be able to rinse anything tomorrow. You don't want anything to back up. So be real careful how you handle that oil. It's very basic. And don't handle it when it's too hot. Let it really cool down before you do anything with it. I don't want to hear that anybody got burned dealing with hot vegetable oil. And this will just take a minute or two. Get it nice and toasty on the inside. And of course, if you're making more than one sandwich, which I'm sure you are, you can have a much larger pan and cook these right up, even while the chicken itself is cooking. Let's give it a little look. Yeah, it's starting to brown. Probably want a little bit browner than that. See this half? Yep, doing the same thing. Give it a little spin. Okay. And again, this will take about 2 to 3 minutes. And then I'm going to meet you over at the sandwich table. And there's our buns all toasted up. I usually like to add a little mayo to both halves. Again, do this to your taste. That looks good. And let's put our chicken on there. Yum. Spicy Cajun chicken cutlet. Add some tomatoes. And some pickle slices. A little bit of lettuce on the top. You can add onion. You know, there's all kinds of stuff you can top these sandwiches with. Do it to your taste. What's your favorite sandwich toppings? These are mine. And then you just cover it up. And there you go. There you go. Spicy fried Cajun chicken sandwich. Yum. So congratulations. Look at what you just did. You just made this delicious, spicy Cajun fried chicken sandwich. I mean, you're absolutely going to love this. It's really tasty. And the cool thing is you can make it your way. You can add all kinds of different spices and mixes to it until you bring it to your taste, which is why I really love to cook. Now, if you want the printable recipe for this dish, please visit stepbystepchef.com. There you will find a free printable version of this recipe and printable versions and YouTube videos for well over 175 different breakfasts, lunches, and dinners. And they're all tasty. And I show you how to make them the step-by-step way. I want you to be able to cook for yourself, your friends, and your family. Now, the other thing you will find there is a link to my cookbook, Cooking with the Step-by-Step Chef. And every November I update this cookbook with whatever I've been cooking that year. And who knows what I've been cooking. You just don't. Come to think of it, I don't even know. I just love to cook, and I love to share it with you. I love to share tasty food, and I love to encourage you to join me in the kitchen. Let's just keep cooking together, and let's keep cooking delicious food. It's just so much fun. It's fun for me, and I hope it's fun for you. So again, I'm Larry Richardson. I am your step-by-step chef, and I'll see you in the next episode.